Very welcome to your Lurgan once again for another preview of the Armagh Senior Championship and Intermediate Championship. Regular contributors on the right here, I wouldn't say they're regular, maybe a bit irregular. Tommy Coleman and Michael Austin, thanks very much for your assistance once again with your Lurgan. Boys, we're at St Paul's here in Tignavan, a very famous club. It was formed way back in the early 70s. And I think you'll probably all agree that the playing service in St Paul's pitch, the social club, the facilities it has, probably second to none, Tommy, in Ulster. They've had some fantastic players. You can look back with the CDs, with Jim McCarry going back to the formation of the club. And, Andy Mernon were there for the final. But Tommy, if you look back, they started a few years just before our oak. But they've done some fantastic work with players and the teams. We're in 2 senior championship finals as well. Sheva Commons reinvented them, but as a club, they're moving forward with giant strides.
They're a brilliant club. I was lucky enough to be up here a couple of times, managing them, and the facilities were just, starting, the plans were going for them then. It's just fantastic to see it growing and how much it's grew in the whole area. I've sort of had that wee soft spot always with St Paul's anyway. My Uncle Jim was on one of the first committees here along with Claire McCavigan way back in the day, and my cousin Sean was actually played on their first, I think it was on the 14s, was their first team at that their time, and a team of lads sort of to get up out around the state, and that's where it all started. And and from that's only 50 years ago, and look at what they've built since, and how well they've established themselves in the community, and they're actually a focal point here in Tignavan.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Tommy, that pitch, they've talked about the pitch being the best surface in the county. Have you seen a better one? I mean, it's unreal.
No, I haven't seen anything better. I've seen, a lot of the pitches now are really, really good. Walt Tones have done a magnificent job out there as well. Their playing surface is brilliant. Probably something very similar to where St Paul's have probably got the same sort of lane. Clubs talk to each other and they get the advice of each other what way they want to go, and it's another brilliant surface. I was actually, couldn't believe it, I went up to Clary to watch Clonaherne cross semi-final, and the last time I was there was basically a field. When I mean a field, it was and the facilities up there now, it's a credit to all. Yeah, and Clary's only a small junior club stuck in mid Armagh, and it's great pitch, great playing surface, and a great training facility, and now they're building new changing rooms and everything else. It's first class. It's first class, and people look at the GAA and what they say, about just the football. There's so much more to the GAA and the GAA family, and the way the clubs and the community rally round and put these facilities in. It's fantastic.
Yeah, Michael, you're living in Tignavan at the minute.
Yes, born, bred, bothered.
Would I be right in saying that you made a pull the St Paul's jersey on a long time ago?
I can't remember that long ago, Eugene. Yes, I did wear the St Paul's jersey under 10, and maybe 1 year of under 12. My brother did too. Stephen Campbell did too.
So Stephen, did I?
He did.
We are Tommy. He didn't know.
We're all Tignavan lads, all Tignavan boys. So just to echo what Tommy said, it is a real hub of the community now. The facilities they have are second to none, and it's representative really of the development of all the clubs in Lurgan. Over the past 10 or 15 years, I think the facilities in all clubs have really improved and enhanced. And you'd have to travel far and wide, for an urban area. To have such a concentration of really great GAA identities and sporting identities than Lurgan. And now that with all the facilities that we have, it's fantastic, for the club or for the town, and for all concerned. St Paul's are a real hub of the local community in Tignavan now, in the social club, with the pitch, with what they do with youth development, youth clubs. They're a credit to themselves, in a 50-year period to go from just starting out to where they are now, deserves a lot of credit, and now they're in another final on the field as well. They're second in 3 years, 4 years, so making huge strides on the field and off the field. So for all involved, in the club, they deserve huge credit for sure.
There was one time, maybe Tommy knows as well, that if you look at St Paul's had Kieran McNally, Morris McNally, Dennis Seeley, Mickey McDonald, Jim McCarry, you had a few other boys there, Paul McGlone. You had maybe 8 or 9 boys who played for the county from a club that had only been formed previously 10 years earlier.
That's right. I think they hit the ground running straight away in the 70s. The minor championship winning teams within 5 or 6 years, of starting. They were in senior finals.
And Martin Seeley as well.
Martin Seeley, yeah. Liam McCorry, all the McCorry bros. So they hit the ground running. They were in minor finals, won a couple of minor championships in the 70s and went on to be a strong senior team in the 80s. They contested finals. They could well have had a couple of senior championships. Great county representation, at senior level and underage level, ever since. So, they've left their mark on the game in 50 years for sure, not just on the local community in Lurgan, but on the game, in Armagh as a whole. So, they're continuing that obviously well, with this final coming up next week. So, like I said, like we've both said, huge credit to all involved in the club, and I think we all hope that they do it next week.
Excellent. Tommy, we're just sitting watching the Linfield-Glentoran match here. Just see Reece Marshall there playing right back for Glentoran. Cameron Dummigan, another former St Paul's players with Dundalk, he was over the water with Burnley and that there. But somebody said to me he could probably field an Irish League team here in St Paul's. Finty McConnell, Shane played for Oxford. They're great sporting people. But just moving forward to the match next Sunday with double head of a cross. St Paul's in the Mid Championship final again. Shane McConnell straight back with him. You would have been with St Paul's a number of years back, but Shane has that factor on teams. What is it about him? I mean, he just seems to do it all the time, irrespective of where he goes.
He's exceptional. He's just exceptional. There's not enough superlatives to say about him. When it comes down to management, I think this is I could be wrong. I think it's his 4th final between senior and intermediate in 7 years, and that's an incredible record. And in between that, he took a Pierce Oaks team who was supposed to be on the way out. He brought them from 1B to 1A and brought them to a championship semi-final. Shane's just one of the best in Ulster, and he's up there right up with the best of them. And St Paul's, to have a man like him, to be able to do what he does up here, it's such an asset for them. But Shane St Paul's through and through, always has been, and he has went elsewhere because I suppose there is time when you can't be there all the time because you do go stale. But he's come back now and he's revitalised them again, and he has a team that just will run through a brick wall for him. They will never say a day attitude, and if we're going to start talking about the game itself, psychologically, where Shane O'Neill's played them in the league up here, and they were 8 points behind St Paul's were with 10 minutes to go and ended up winning the game by a point. So that there's going to play on Shane O'Neill's mind as well, and that there comes from your leader, like that there is installed from him. They take their lead. He doesn't quit. He never does quit. He's relentless with them on the line. He keeps talking to them. He keeps driving them on, and that's in them. They will not stop, and they will play for the 60 minutes. And that's one thing that we can be no sure of. Like.
Yeah, Tommy, in the semi-final, they were well behind against Tullyshaw. Tullyshaw were very open. Didn't pick up Andy. They picked up Andy with one man. Didn't play anybody behind. Didn't double up on him. And eventually Andy got the grips around the full forward and didn't move them out. But young Sean Tolman went in, changed the game with a goal. And when they got that goal, big Charlie Hart come on, scored a cracker. They had a serious amount of belief. I mean, I know we can put it down to Shane, but they're gutsy players. Like they really want to perform for the club and push on.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, so many talented players throughout the team, and so many strong-willed characters that I know. You take the Nashes with Twin McCalley. These boys. They're through and through St Paul's men, and they'll go to the wall every time you ask them to do it, and they won't stop. Charlie came on. Charlie had a great game when he came on. Caught a couple of great balls. Scored a wonderful point. I think probably Tolly Shore look back at that match and they'll look at the chances that they missed. But look, listen, that's nothing to do with St Paul's.
Yeah.
St Paul's rallied round, kept going, and eventually, and didn't look like it. You'd be honest about it all. They won't up here. We didn't think.
No.
There was any chance.
Like they were gone.
Oh, we thought they were gone, and then the next thing's just point, then another point, then another point, and then the goal, and next thing they're in the game, and Tullyshaw and reeling them in in front, and it's remarkable because I've seen it in quite a number of games this year the way they've done it. I've seen them doing it again in St Peter's up here, and I've seen it again. Was it like more? It was one of the other teams that came back from nowhere.
That's correct.
And came back at the win, you know. So that's one thing that.
But have any concerns, Tommy? Shanes are very strong favourites, good up front. They're goal scorers. They're prolific. You know, have you any concerns about it? In fairness, I know St Paul's want to come in as underdogs, but they're up against it. It's going to be a really, really difficult game to win. Like.
Well, yeah, it is certainly. No, championships are not easy one. That's why we don't win them all the time. And you know, that's what's took us 58 years to win the senior one. You know, and. You have the history the Clans have and how many they did win. They haven't won one in 27. You know, they're on the road now. I think they may be closing that their gap. But, you know, St Paul's, I can certainly, it's a final and you give every single chance. Shanes goes in as favourites. You know, they've had a great league campaign. They won that league without their, you know, about their county players, you know, the Cabes, the two Mackins have come in. But then they have some real good forwards in and around that their side too. You know, young O'Brien is a very, very good footballer. He's only 18 years of age. O'Rourke the other night, the last night in the semi-final was exceptionally good. You know, so but you know, we don't need, you know, we know that they have them quality of players, but Shane will have them well. They'll have it well organised and stuff to look after them.
Michael, looking towards the senior situation, you know, you could talk about maybe that was the Clans' year to push on. Maybe a lot of people said they should have been in the final. Maybe let Clan Erin was another team with the three boys coming back next year, with young Owens and McCarthy and TK coming back in. It's going to be fantastic next year. But as far as this year is concerned, a lot of the games were 1 point victories or extra time or whatever. Crossmaglen against Mahary were the most impressive team this year. I mean, they scored, what did they win by? 15, 16 points.
Yeah.
Were Mahary poor? Are they over the top? Or Crossmaglen back to what they used to be? Are they back to their best again?
I think it's a mixture of both, Eugene. I think you know we finally got to the stage there where Mahary's not hit the wall as such, but got to the, you know, sort of the limit of what they're going to be capable of in the championship the next couple of years as regards beating the really big teams. Crossmaglen finally found their feet in the championship, you know. So the first couple of rounds, they were not nervy, but the first couple of rounds in a knockout format are always, you know, bring a lot of nerves and, you know, lack of certainty, because particularly for clubs like Crossmaglen, because one bad day and you're out, you know, and that would have been a real disaster for Crossmaglen, who were hoping to push on from the past 3 years of not winning it, which is a long time for them. You know, Silverbridge for 3/4 of the game were better than Cross. Probably should have had the game wrapped up, but didn't. Cross came back and won. Drummond Hay again, another nervy day for Cross. I know a local derby and all the rest, but I sort of thought that Cross might have won that comfortably. They didn't. Extra time and they got through in the end. And then finally they get to the semi-final. They get those couple of games under their belts. They get the performances, they get the belief, they get the momentum, and then finally they found their feet. And Mahary unfortunately suffered, you know, the consequences of that. I think it'll be probably a long day for Greenmore in the final, to tell you the truth. And we'll probably talk about that final in a wee minute. As regards the Clans, people saying the Clans should have been in the final. They arguably could have been in the semi-final, but not the final. Maybe people saying that the way the draw panned out, you know, jumped a few steps ahead of themselves. I think Greenmore would have given the Clans a lot of problems, you know, based on where they're strong in their team and based on the matchups with, you know, the Clans players who I know so well. I think that, you know, Greenmore, you know, quite possibly could have beaten us as well in the semi-final. But it would have been nice to get to the semi-final and have that chance to see that pan out. And there's a couple of reasons why we lost to Killeavy, and a couple of decisions went against us. That's fair enough. But I think for the most part, it was really our own downfall, not being clinical enough. You know, so there was I think we were 6 or 7 points ahead in the first half, and we gave a really silly goal away, and that turned the momentum of the game. And we went in at half time, you know, level. And we really should have been going in on the balance of play. We really should have been going in 5, 6, 7 points up. You know, and if you go in 5, 6, 7 points up, you come out, you know, a decent start to the second half and the game's beyond Killeavy, you know. And I felt that really was the case. Killeavy disappointed me yet again, you know, for all the players they have, for the history they have at underage development. They always flatter to deceive at senior level, you know, and even that day, the first half, they didn't look like a team that had any belief that they were going to have
against the Clans, you're talking about? Against
the Clans. They had no belief whatsoever about going to win a championship, even to win that game, you know. And it was only circumstantial, or maybe the Clans' lack of experience or killer instinct, that allowed them the opportunity to come into it. Now they won, and that's it. You know, they got to the next stage, and that's fair enough. But it wasn't surprising for me to see Grainmore beat them.
Yeah.
Grainmore, I don't know if they're capable of beating Cross in a final.
They're a big team, Mickey.
They're a big team.
They're huge.
They're a big team, and in many ways they've nothing to lose, but you've still everything to lose. They've never been in a final. They might never get to another one. So to say they've nothing to lose isn't really accurate. They're in a final.
Yeah.
And they'll want to win it. It's just I think they're playing a Cross McLean team that have now found their identity in this championship. They've got the players that are purring in the forward line.
Yeah.
They look solid at the back. And I think they've found the killer instinct. And I think Grainmore could suffer something similar to what Mahry did.
There you go. Tommy, I was talking to Aaron Kiernan straight after the match. Had a wee chat with him. Stephen, the brother, looked really relieved. I mean, I think Aaron said that when you're in Cross McLean, you're expected to win the championship, and that's it. So I think Stephen had been under pressure with the defeat last year and defeat the season before. Hasn't happened Cross before. They haven't lost 3, but he looked a relieved man at the final whistle, irrespective of how many medals he has had himself. I mean, he'd be under pressure to win a championship across every single year.
It doesn't matter. Cross, that's what you expect. You're in Cross McLean, expect to win the championship, and it's it's not easy. It's not easy to do, and you have to admire the Cross McLean team of years back there, who continue won it year after year to retain that hunger and to retain the squad, because you do have players that's injured, but they were able to bring people in as good as the people that were out, and for them to do what they done was incredible. And come back now, they've lost they lost the last 2 finals, and they've been in the last 4 finals. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they won 2 and lost 2. And I suppose a lot of us were saying we were talking up Macri and this being their last year, and then someone saying that Macri hadn't beaten them in the last 5 outings. That was a great motivating factor for Cross McLean as well. I felt personally that they were they said, you know what, we're going right here and we're going to show who's number 1. How dare anybody say
Was that goal at the
anybody's
start,
better than
Tommy,
us?
when Mahry conceded the goal? I know it was an OG, it was just unfortunate.
Yeah.
Cross went for the juggler. As soon as they seen Mahry in trouble with a goal, they straight went for it, and they didn't let up. They were ruthless.
Oh, they were ruthless, and they were like, I used to think I described it as they were like a pack of hounds, and after the facts, and they just scented the blood and knew it was there.
Mm-hmm.
And Mahry went back in, and they done what Mahry's freaking brilliant at, and they done all the defensive, set the defensive system up, but they set it in, it was all within the 50-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
And these lads were just pinging the ball over. They gave an exhibition shooting that night, it was 55, all over 55, even 60 yards out at one stage, and they were just pinging them over for fun, and it wasn't
They weren't
really.
getting into the zone with it, they weren't going to the D with it.
Oh, they weren't going over there, they were just putting it over. And you had Ryan O'Neill, Comiskey, Oran Kieran came up and kicked one. But Kane didn't kick one later on. Finnegan had kicked one. And it was right. Ronan Fitzpatrick, who had a super game, a young lad who's just grown in stature every game.
And size, and fitness,
yeah, you're 100%.
He's a mechanism of a real top class footballer. And then when that there happened, then Mahry had to push them up the field further and had to try and pressurise them higher up the field so they weren't getting the shots in. But then they're just playing the ball into Jamie and Kane, and that was it. It was a game shot match, and they just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
They were exceptional. I said it earlier on our podcast that I reckon it was the best club performance that I've seen in 7 years, 8 years maybe.
In the county?
In the county, without any doubt.
Yeah.
Without any doubt, it was that there good. Now, will they come in with the same hunger and the same sharpness and everything else for the final? Probably will, but I just wouldn't write Grainmore off that easy. Grainmore, probably had people would say an easier passage through, and probably so, but they've been able to build momentum up, they've been able to build belief up. They're a big, strong, physical side, and if they can get things right on the day, who's to know? This time last year we were in that position, and the truth, outside of our own squad, there wasn't too many people really believed that we were going to be across McLean.
Yeah.
That was it. There's no way across would be a 2 year in a row. So it can be done.
Yeah.
It can be done, but it'll take a lot. It will, when you watch them the other night, you'll say, God, they are going to be hard to beat. But Grainmore have to go in and believe that they can do it. And if they don't believe that they can truly take that field and beat Cross McLean, then they won't.
Yeah.
That's one thing's for sure. They'll have to believe that they do it, and they'll be there. you know, are they content with getting to the first ever senior final, or as Mickey rightly says, because this could be the last, you know, for a couple of these lads are coming near the end or the twilight of their career anyway. Let's put it that way, and they might never get the chance to get to another final. So you know they'll be going, you know, they'll have to throw everything at this.
You see a few retirements in Mahry without being disrespectful. Cusack, Sparky, the boys have given so many years, so great servants. You know, they can only go to the well so many times. You think the boys have done enough, maybe going to management, maybe going to coaching. Some of them maybe Big Jerry Campbell 40s. The ages are, Tommy, so many years, of 6 or 7 years have been on the road and intermediate before that, so they're going to have to bring new blood in, obviously.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a small community.
Yeah, small community, small parish, and the work that the boys in Mahry have done, and you know, we talked about Shane earlier. Shane was with them. He got them over the line, got them their first senior championship, and you know, they've been knocking at the door of that championship for years. Even when I was playing, they were knocking at the door of the championship, and with real good footballers, you know, Stephen Falker's dad, they were all playing at that their time. But they were all down. They were all great players, and just couldn't get over the line. And then they fancy got over there. It could have maybe won. Probably, I think, should have won another one in between the one that they did. And but them lads have no. Listen, I said it to you before anyway on a different interview. Them boys owe nothing to nobody. They have what they've done for their community and their parish, and the work and the effort that they've put in has been nothing short of phenomenal.
Yeah.
They'll go down in Mahry's as long when they're not here as legends, and they'll be on the wall forever. And you know, I think you know Staffy Cusack's a very, very smart, shrewd operator. You know, and I think he'd be, you know, when he chooses to go into management, will be an excellent manager.
Yeah.
Stephen Falker, exactly the same. These lads, you know, they're very, very streetwise, and they're the type of lads would be, you know, if they could give the time and commitment, if they're not going to play, to manage the Mahry team, they would be the figureheads, and they would be excellent choices to bring those younger lads, you know, they're looking to bring them through and build again. You know, but I just wouldn't rate Mahry's a bitchery just yet. You know, I think there's still a lot of good footballers.
Well, Aidan's been so much consistency in Aidan Falker, so he's going to be around. He's maybe a couple of years out of anyway, at least. Yeah,
he'll be there, you know, to help them younger ones coming through, and you know, they're going into 1B, and I think they'll be comfortable enough in 1B, and I think they'll be able to, you know, to build again from there, and you know. It will take a couple of while before they'll be able to compete again. I think with the top teams, as Mickey said earlier, in the championship.
Yeah, Michael, just would that be a concern across McLean? Obviously, maybe concern everybody else. You see, Cross, that team. I'm not going to say they're going to be as good as the team that won the All Irons and the Ulster Championship. You don't know that. Can you see that team been around for a while? There's good youth and experience. I know Aaron Kieran's going to go. Tony Kieran's away, but they've enough young lads coming through. I think Aaron Kieran said that Clonagale won the minors, but they've been in the last 4 or 5 finals, or maybe 1, 3 or 4 before that. So there's a lot of quality.
Do you know what?
Could they dominate?
I don't know if they'll dominate like they once did, but you know, I really do see that a really strong, consistent side developing, and this is the year that it's developing. There's been gaps the previous couple of years with, you know, them being in transition, and some lads, you know, maybe not filling the gaps that were left by previous established players. Now I see a really, really strong and exciting team emerging. I mean, you've Oisin O'Neill that's missing this year. He'll be back next year. You've Rain, who's going nowhere anytime soon. He's going to get better and better. You've Ronan Fitzpatrick, who's going to turn into a Rolls Royce. You've Cian McConville has found his feet at senior level. You know what I mean? You've young Finnegan. You've Jamie Clark in and out. So I see a real strong cross team developing yet again. But you know, there's other strong teams developing in the county. So I still don't think they're going to be the same situation.
10, 12 in a row.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think that I said in a previous interview last year, I think this cross side over the next 10 or 15 years, it'll probably win more championships than any other club, but they'll not be winning it year in, year out. And I really don't think that. I think it's going to be even enough. There's 5 or 6 emerging teams. There's teams that have, like Clonard, that have, you know, become established from last year. They're going to come back and win another few championships, with no doubt, over the next 10 years. So I don't see Cross win it year on year, but I still think that after this year, if they win, they're now going to be back to being the ones who have to beat to win it. You know, so And that's that. That's endemic down there, and it wasn't going to be too long before they got back to that level. And Stephen Kiernan rightly has been under pressure.
Yeah, he said that.
Well, you don't have to be a genius to know that. Having lost a couple of finals, which is a long time in Crossmaglen not to have won it based on the recent history, and then the couple of kind of early scares in this championship, close games that maybe could have slipped away from them would have been a real disaster.
Yeah.
But the Mahry game's pivotal for them now. They've really bounced into it. Tommy says they were outstanding. They were, and I think they'll bring it into the final. I really do, and I've this real feeling that they'll have learnt the lessons from the Clonard match and from the final the previous year, and I can see them correcting all those wrongs in this final. One improvement I have noticed is they've been susceptible the past number of years, I think, under high ball into their defence, and they're conceding very little goals now. And it's not just that they're clicking going forward.
They plugged that gap, haven't they?
Well, they seem to have. They seem to have.
I would argue that.
Would you?
Would you tell me?
I think. I don't think they're as susceptible as the once were maybe 3 years ago. Do you remember the one when in against Colleyhanna and then Mahry got a couple? And I think it was a real concern down there. I don't see it being as much of a concern this time around, but remains to be seen.
I'd like to take you up, not Tommy, just about that, but just before you do that, I don't want to put Tommy in the spot, but one or too many clubs in the county could do without Ryan Owens, could do without TK, could do without Big Sean McCarthy in particular, with those three players with the steel they bring to them. Do you see the hunger that Clonard had before they won the championship? Would it do them a wee bit of good to actually come back with that hunger next year again and say, like, we should be doing more than this? I mean, some of them lads are going to be there for the next 10 years.
They are, but you've hunger every year, Eugene. If you're going to see yourself as championship contenders, and multiple winners of it, you have to have the hunger and the motivation. Probably their motivation will maybe increase. Having been knocked out early this year, and they'll be chomping at the bit right from now, not when the season starts after Christmas. Looking forward to next year to get out and show a better representation of themselves. But you're right, the three players they're missing were crucial. And there isn't too many clubs in that championship that have been missing players of that magnitude and went and made any inroads in the championship. So they were very unfortunate. I think they'll be back next year. They'll be big contenders. And looking at the landscape of the championship, I think they'll be right up there with with the favourites for it. Pre-season or pre-championship. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
Tommy, just before we talk about Cross, about the high ball and the tactics and stuff, Michael is a great man for the knockout stage. He likes the knockout situation where you're out, and that's championship football. They're talking about bringing this round robin next year with the group stages. Is that something you'd favour?
No.
You don't like it?
No, I'm a Mickey. I'm a traditional. I think the championship is you're right, and that's what we've made on all the day. Obviously, it's a money earner for the county board, or is it? Because towards the end of these years, a lot of these games are dead rubbers, and nobody wants to go and watch them. For me, it takes away from the excitement. And
absolutely.
I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, but you can sometimes get a draw that you have a reasonable chance of getting a good run in it, whereas you're drawn. The way that this is set up, it's set up for the bigger clubs.
Yeah,
it's set up for the bigger clubs and the better teams, so you can have an off day. And you can still get back in there and you can still win. But going back to with Crossmaglen, I agree with what Mickey says. I think over the next 10, 15 years, I think the majority of the championships will be heading down that road. But I do think there's other teams that are more than capable of challenging this. I do put my own club up there. I also put Clonagale up there. I thought Clonagale, when I watched them against Killeavy,
you said they're better. You said they're a lot better.
Yeah, they were a lot better, and not only out there, they played great brand of football. They moved the ball so quick and played it fast. And this is where I worry about Killeavy. A Killeavy team who I rate so high, the players that they have, but are so defensive. And if we've learnt anything from last Friday night, if you're going to sit back against this Crossmaglen team, you're not going to win anything. It's not going to happen. They've just got too much talent within that. They'll just keep picking you off. And at some stage, yes, you have to. I know and I understand you have to hold it tight. But at some stage, if you're going to beat these lads, you're going to have to go up. And and I think that's the teams. I think teams will have to, really, and clubs who have that aspirations of winning senior championships from here on in, will have to do a wee bit more forward thinking and start playing that ball in, because I do believe, and I watched it the other night, Mahari even got their goal from that high ball. There was 2 or 3 high balls went in.
Ping pong.
And the keeper was fisting it. He's getting up with two hands and fisting the ball out. You know, if you, you know, and I'm sure your grandma will tell you, you can get 2 hands to the ball. You get a hold of it, and that's it. You know, you don't do one anywhere else.
If you're on the sideline with Greenmore, would you start bombing a few in the early stages and hit them in and see if they made it?
Oh yeah, I would. You know, get a Greenmore with their bigger problem will be getting a hold of it first. And if they get a hold of it first, that's where I will be going. I will be putting straight down in there and testing them, because if there is the weakness, I think it's still in the round there. I don't think they've showed that they're completely up. I watched it closely in the second half again Mahari. Mahari weren't able to get anything up in the first half whatsoever. They were just pinned to the collar across from Eddie. But, and having said that, it may be a bit shaky and all in it, but I'd say across McLean was saying themselves, we don't care, because we're going to go out and score you anyway.
If it's a shootout, we'll win.
If it's going for the shootout, we're going to win it anyway. And that's the way. And it's, do you know, and people will say whatever they like, but I admire the way Cross McLean play football. I think it's a treat to watch. And when you go and you pay your money in and you see that sort of a game is what you did, and the exhibition of shooting, the quality of the long pass, the kick pass, and then when they had to run the ball, how fast they done it and how quick they switched it, it was just brilliant.
Just want to ask Tommy too. There's a team that my mum's from Tassel, so I have to support Greenmore in the final. But there's a team I want to ask you about, and they've been knocking on the door for a long time. They rarely get a mention, but they're absolutely devastated. They get beat this year. Again was Ballymcnabb, who looked like a going to challenge every single year. What's happening to them?
Again, look, at that their game, I thought Ballymcnabb were the better side on the night. You know, Mahari were lucky to get out of it. You know, talk about Paddy.
Is that belief, Tommy, or what is it?
A lot of them are blaming Paddy, you know, and all about the 7 minutes, and I suppose there's an argument in that. But you know, I was talking to one of the management team not long after it, and we had a good conversation about it. And I said, at the end of the day, these were 2 points clear. You had plenty of possession of the ball, and rather than push on and go 4 or 5 ahead, you know,
drop back too early.
You drop back too early, try to hold it off, and Mahari's a very, very dangerous opponent when you do that, when you haven't got that game sealed off. You need to, you know, before you start that trying to keep ball for 10-15 minutes, you know, it's 2 points. Go yourself when you had the chances, and you had the ability. You know, you players of the Grugans,
go 10 up.
You know, and Hughes was exceptional that night. You know, he was putting them over for fun. Go and put it on. Even if you put 5 or 6 on the board, then certainly, you know, because we were talking about it when you know, people say, well, I'll get you on. We all, you know, 8 points up last week, and you know, why didn't they drop back off a wee bit? And maybe that was the time to do it when you get that far in front. But certainly when you're not only 2 points in front, and, you know, Ballymcnabb are a very, very good side. You know, people don't rate. You know, I don't think you get rated high enough, but I think there is that wee bit of doubt there in their heads. But I think more importantly, some of these lads are coming to near the end of their, you know, their better years, and that could be, and that, you know, it'd be maybe a rebuilding job coming to Ballymcnabb.
Excellent, very, very interesting point before we finish up. Michael Austin, I know you're not a spokesman for Clonagale, but David Marsden and Joe have stepped down. They're looking at a manager. Will that be a part of the committee situation that they decide what they're going to do? We can't influence that, but basically the Clonagale post was a poison chalice at one time, so nobody wanted it because their expectations were so high. But now they're a club that people will be interested in managing because they've made superb strides under David and all the rest of the coaches. So they're a team for the future, for a big manager.
A team for the present and the future, and you're right, it is a more attractive proposition now for managers within and from outside the club. So I'm not just too sure of the process and what the thinking of the club is, and that's the truth, but I would imagine it would generate a lot of interest if it is advertised. I'm not sure going outside the club is always the answer. Sometimes it's necessary if you don't have anybody in the club that's willing to give up the commitment, the time, you know, which is a lot of. But it's really important that the committee gets this decision right. You know, it really is, because the team is in a good place. There's a real influx now going through next year, able to train from a minor winning team. You know what I mean? So the past few years we've been getting a real injection of youth, and it's noticeable how that's affected the senior team. You know, they're playing with a real excitement, a real energy, a real belief, and now they've another 5 or 6 really talented young lads going to be training with them next year. So the panel will be young, it'll be exciting, you know, and it'll be a really good team and group to manage. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few months, who gets the job. But I would love the committee, you know, to put their hats on and really get this one right, and I'm sure they will.
Excellent. Thanks for watching your Lurgan from St Paul's Club. I wish all the clubs well next Sunday week in the championship. St Paul's hopefully get a win, bring a cup back to Lurgan, and thanks Tommy Coleman yet again, and Michael Austin, and hopefully we'll be back here next Sunday week for St Paul's celebration and Clonerne with Tommy's girls playing on Sunday. See how that goes. But we're looking forward to 2 great championship finals, and we'll see where we go from there. But thank you from your Lurgan, and thanks to the lads here, and we'll see us all again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.